I've been very adamant that the biggest problem with the Democratic Party is that they are completely co-opted by Wall Street. The biggest problem with the GOP is that they are completely co-opted by the evangelical right. As somebody who has been a spiritual advisor, somebody who's been involved in religion for a long time, can you speak to the biggest issues that exist right now regarding the evangelical right and sort of this minority rule that they seem to be completely okay with and are not getting pushed back enough on? Because from all the responses I'm seeing, so much of this regarding, and especially from men, regarding like what women should and shouldn't do with their body, they're using evangelical principles as a shield to say, well, this is a religious thing. And to me, I have a really, really big problem with how religion has been used as a weapon. And right now it's being used as the worst kind of weapon, as far as I can tell.
Well, first of all, you said you thought that the GOP was not co-opted by corporate power so much as by the evangelicals. I don't really agree with you on that, because the money comes from the corporate power. I think evangelical Christians have been used as a pawn by the GOP more than the other way around. Many religions have nothing to do with God. Where there is not love, there is not God. There's a line in the Bible, on that day, I will say, I never even knew you. There's a line in the Bible, God shall not be mocked. And that means he isn't. Where there's not love, there is not God. Now, I will say this. I do think there are many sincere evangelical Christians and others whose opposition to abortion rights stems from what is in their mind a deeply moral stand. And this is an important issue, Peter, because I think one of the reasons we lost on this issue is because too many on the left have refused to acknowledge that it is a moral issue. I believe abortion is a moral issue, but I believe it's a moral issue that is a private issue. The government should have nothing to do with it. There are issues of private morality and there are issues of public morality. And when it comes to anything having to do with someone's body, anything that has to do with someone's sexuality, except with the one exception of sex with children, the government has no right to have any say whatsoever. And I do trust the moral decision-making of the American woman. I find casual abortion as much an anathema as anybody does. And I think most people in America do. This is an issue of respecting the fact that for the vast majority of American women, this is a very, very difficult decision. And whether they contextualize it as a religious or a moral decision or not, they're dealing with it in their hearts. They're dealing with it in their conscience. So evangelical Christians have no monopoly, quite the opposite. Not only do they have no monopoly on moral consideration, but there are too many issues where, for instance, given their willingness to go along with policies that actually harm children that are already born, I would question whether they have any moral high ground on this and many issues whatsoever.
Why do you think they don't speak out against that? We had, we had the child earned tax credit taken away. We obviously don't have universal health care. We do not have a living wage. There are many things that could mitigate a lot of these cycles of poverty, being probably one of the primary reasons as to why women do end up getting an abortion. It would seem to me that if you had a more caring society, then abortions would obviously be considerably less. But there's also this sort of duality, if you will, it seems, on the right, religious right, where their concern is only to be pro-birth, not be pro-life. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And in so many cases where, there's an emphasis on protecting a fetus, but not an emphasis on protecting a child, which seems outrageous to me. But I also think that we should note, Peter, there is a new generation of evangelicals coming up. And there's a new generation of them there with a lot of emphasis on anti-poverty work, even a lot of emphasis on the environment. So I don't think that we should brush all evangelical Christians, just as broad a brush, because Well, first of all, as Martin Luther King Jr. used to say, you have very little persuasive power with people who can feel your underlying contempt. And once again, I have found, and I found this as a political candidate, I can respect someone's moral ambivalence on the topic of abortion. I really can. But I would find over and over again when I would say to someone, oh, it is a moral issue. I just don't think the government should be making that decision for a woman. This is an issue of a woman's private moral decision, not government. I can't tell you, Peter, how many people would say, oh, but you do get it's a moral issue, right? I would say, of course. And they would say, yeah, that's all I want to know, that you get that. Because so many people, particularly on the left over the last few years, refusing, seeing it as some slippery slope to even acknowledge that it was a moral issue. I think that has been a terrible mistake in terms of winning hearts and minds in this country.
Speaking with Marianne Williamson, no, please finish.
You know when things changed? You know when we started losing this battle? When photographs of fetuses became available. Because when I was a little girl, those pictures didn't exist. So the fact that there is some level of moral wrangling on this should not be disrespected. The issue is the government should not be deciding this issue for people. And I think that we would have had a lot more success on it if we had. Although it's to be noted that even the way it is now, over 60% of Americans did not want Roe v. Wade rescinded, repealed, overturned. Whether it has to do with this, whether it has to do with Medicare for all, whether it has to do with environmental protection, whether it has to do with college loans and college tuition. There are so many issues at this point where clearly our representative democracy is not representing the American people.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.